All right. Hello and welcome to everybody who is getting joined in today. We went ahead and started just a few seconds early here just to make sure everybody had a chance to get into the call. We've had some issues with Zoom lately where it can take up to 20 seconds for you to get in. We don't want you to miss anything. So I just kind of babble here at the beginning and let you know that we're taking a few seconds. So with that, I know we've had enough time now for people to start coming in. So welcome. Thank you for being here. That's the biggest thing I want to start with is saying thank you, because we know it is a lot to ask people to get away from the counter or out of the field to spend a little time with us to, still talk about auto parts. So what we're going to do here today is we are going to high level try to get you in about 30 minutes exactly what you need to know about throttle bodies and tech expert throttle bodies when you're out there having conversations, and give you some things that will really open up some eyes of some technicians, hopefully, as well as some of those store teams that may not know which throttle body to promote. So again, thanks for being here. And again, obviously the topic is electronic throttle bodies. So what are we going to talk about? Well, we're going to have a little bit of a discussion on what they do. Again, high level. We're not going to get into, how they're exactly built in a video of it, but we're going to talk about what they do. We're also going to talk about why they fail. I'm going to give you a couple tech tips to hopefully avoid those failures. Then we're going to talk about some of the engineering improvements that have been put into the electronic throttle bodies that you're going to find in those tech expert boxes to give your confidence boost, way higher, as well as your technician's confidence boost way higher, because they're going to know what's in there now. And I'm going to pass it off to Miss Reese, and she's going to go over some of the competitive landscape. I think you'll be excited about that because it's going to show you where you stack up against the competition as a result of where we stack up. And I can tell you, it looks pretty good. And then I'll pass it. Actually, Reese will pass it off to Rob, and he's going to go over some sales support that we have available to you. That's going to make it even easier to go out and have conversations. So with that, let's get started on what does a electronic throttle body do? Well, it replaces the throttle cable. It's really that simple, but not, right? So the days of the cable being attached to the pedal up to the throttle body are gone. And there's several reasons for that, but most likely, or I say not most likely, but most commonly because of efficiency. Now, we can feather a gas pedal with a cable. We can stretch a cable. We can break a cable, but we can't do that with today's modern systems. And when we do those kind of things, we're losing efficiency. We're also losing power. So with the new electronic throttle body system that we see on pretty much every car, at least for the last 20 years, we've taken away a variable that can snap or break or stretch and cause inefficiency. Now, with that, though, we have built upon a massive system, and it's now called drive-by-wire. Now, when I first heard that 15 years ago, I was like, well, hold on, I thought we got rid of the cable. We did. That's a cable. We're doing drive-by-wire, so meaning harnesses, pigtails, and sensors. And so the way a throttle body works now and what it does, it still opens and it still closes based on the command of the driver's foot on that pedal, right? But the way it works now is when that driver puts their foot on the pedal, the accelerator pedal position sensor is going to send that command to the ECU. Now, what the ECU is going to do is going to decipher that command and say, well, here's how much demand that we need based on what the driver is telling us they want. And at that time, it's going to command the throttle blade to open or close based on what the driver's doing with their foot. And all at the same time, we're going to be monitoring and delivering fuel, monitoring and making sure we have spark, making sure we're reading the cam timing, we're reading that mass airflow temperature coming in, so that we can get the maximum amount of efficiency out of every push of that accelerator pedal. So that's why we have changed over. There's a lot of systems at play here that are working together to give you a better efficiency, better fuel economy, but also better power when you need it and less power when you don't. So you see there's a whole lot of stuff going on here on the screen, and you look down at the bottom, that's an ABS control module on the bottom right-hand side. Why would that be there? Well, because again, all these systems are working in play for the most efficient way for that vehicle to run, even to the point when the driver lets off of the gas pedal, it's letting the ECU know that, and it's sending that signal also to the ABS control module saying, hey, we're letting off now. There might be a braking event coming, but at least we're slowing down. So there's a lot of things going on. But at the end of the day, what an electronic throttle body does is the exact same thing as a cable throttle body. It opens and it closes to allow air into the intake and get that motor running. It just does it differently than it used to in the past. So again, it's going to take all that sensor data. It's going to take all those inputs. It's going to read them and it's going to go, hey, here's exactly what we need for fuel. Here's exactly what we need for spark. And here's exactly how far we need to turn this motor. All that's being done just to get that motor to turn. So you see there, we got the two-way electric motor, and that's going to control the throttle blade. So all of those inputs, all that drive-by-wire technology is going to come together so that we can just spin that little motor. Which is kind of funny, right? There's a lot more to it, and we're going to see that here in just a second, but that's what electronic throttle bodies do. So why do they fail? Well, there's quite a few reasons for it, but one of them is right here on the screen. We have to remember, we're calling these electronic throttle bodies, but they are not really all electronic. There are still mechanical components inside. There's still moving pieces. And the problem with that is they don't get lubrication. They have zero oil, no lubrication, and they're sealed units. So you can't service them, but dirt, debris, dust, that can still get in there. As sealed as they think they are, it can still get in there on the OE side because they aren't as sealed as they originally thought they were going to be. So it actually causes a lot of issues on the inside gearing. And not only that, if that's not the issue, a lot of the inside gearing on these electronic throttle bodies in the market, especially OE, they're going to try to cut costs as much as possible when they're building every unit. So in an electronic throttle body, there's a lot of technology, there's a lot of expense. They're going to save that expense and that cost by using plastic gear trains. And we point that out specifically because the word plastic is something we don't want to use in certain situations. This is one of them. And the other piece we have to think about is the geometry of the gears that are inside of the electronic throttle body. So remember, these things are cycling millions of times, heat, cold, hundreds of thousands of miles in some cases. And if the geometry is not right, there will be binding on gear to gear. We have to make sure those teeth match up perfectly, and we have to make sure that the faces of the gears match up perfectly. Think of a Rolex watch versus a Casio. That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about efficiency in the way that the gears work and move. And that's very important. You'll see why here in just a minute. So that's one of the reasons they fail. But here's the most common reasons. And you see gear train failure at the bottom there. That is one. But another is carbon buildup on the throttle blade. One of the most common. And what I tell everybody is you're not going to avoid getting carbon buildup on your throttle blade. It just happens over 30, 40, 50, 60,000 miles. So that is a common issue with throttle bodies. But this is an area where we might actually be able to help our customer. They may not need an electronic throttle body at all. They may just need to clean that carbon buildup. But I will give you a word of caution here. If you're going to clean a throttle body and get that carbon buildup off to see if that is the fix, we got to make sure we take the throttle body off completely. You can't just clean the front side. And if you want a surefire way to damage the backside, that is to try to push a rag behind the throttle blade and clean it from that way. It's not a recommended idea. It generally will cause some type of damage or failure. So just go ahead and take the throttle body off, and we'll talk about what needs to be done after that here in just a minute. But sometimes you can fix a throttle body just by cleaning them. You can also have a failed throttle position sensor. Now, in some cases, those are secondarily located, so you can just replace it. But in others, they're actually integrated into the throttle body. So in some cases, if that breaks, you will have to replace the entire throttle body. You could also have a failure of that motor we talked about, and then also that gear train failure. But there's other components and systems that can lead to a misdiagnosis or a thought that the ETB might be messed up. Could be a wiring fault, could be a poor connection. I'll show you something on that here in a second. It could also be something wrong with an input on a wheel speed sensor, a brake switch, or a mass airflow sensor. Remember, I showed you on that first slide, there's so many different systems reading at the same time. If one is not operating properly, it can cause all of them to be a little bit improper and lead to a misdiagnosis. So we have to remember that as well. But our most common problems with ETBs are going to be carbon and then that gear train failure. That's really what we're looking at. So here's a quick pro training tip. Remember I said, if you're going to clean the throttle body, we got to take it off, right? We know what they do. We know how they work. We know how they fail. But one thing a lot of people don't know is that the ECM compensates for carbon buildup. So what I mean by that is if you have a vehicle with 100,000 miles on it and you've never replaced the throttle body, it for sure has built up carbon on the throttle blade. Well, over the time that it's built up, it didn't just build up at mile 89,510. It was a slow progression. Well, as that progression was going on, the ECM noticed that the throttle blade was not opening or closing the way it used to. And it knows that that's a carbon buildup issue. So it starts compensating. And over time, at that 100,000 miles, we could see anywhere from a 10-degree change in the effective opening because of that compensation. So here's the warning and the tip. And what that is if you remove a throttle body to clean it, or you replace a throttle body with a new one, when you put it back on, the ECM doesn't know that you did that. All it knows is the car started back up and now it's not idling properly. So if there was a 10-degree opening difference, it may be at a lower idle, maybe under 800 RPMs, so a very stuttered idle, or it might be wide open at 1400 RPMs because the ECM does not know a new throttle body has been installed. So it's imperative that if we replace a throttle body or clean a throttle body, when we put it back on, we do a relearn procedure. And that will vary by vehicle. A lot of them you can actually do manually. And we have some great videos on that on the channel that show you how to do that. Nissan, for example. But most of them you can do manually, but there are quite a few as well that you do need a scan tool. Some of them you need a scan tool because even though you can do it manually, it takes 3 or 4 or 5 times. It's frustrating. Technicians don't want to do that. They'll just grab their scan tool and do the relearn. But it is imperative that that relearn is done, because if you do have a customer saying, hey, I put 2 or 3 of these throttle bodies on in a row and I'm idling at 1500 RPMs. Well, my question then would be, well, how many miles were on the car before you took the throttle body off? And did you do a relearn? That is most commonly the reason that you'll get a comeback on a throttle body is the relearn was not done. So now you know that. But for intermittent faults, so here's another tip. Oftentimes, we know we have heat, we have cold, we have rodents that get under. There can easily be an issue with an intermittent fault on the throttle body because of a pigtail. And so in some cases, if you have someone who's got maybe an issue with a comeback on a throttle body, they're just not being able to figure out why it keeps coming back with intermittent faults. Let's back probe that pigtail to the throttle body while it's installed. And then let's hook a scope up to it and let's watch the pattern. And while we're watching, we'll just wiggle the connectors. If we see a break in the pattern, we know we have a contact issue. Very common on electronic throttle bodies. Corrosion buildup is a real thing when it comes to terminal connectors. And so it could be as simple as adding something like Stabilant 22A, just a little bit of contact enhancer so that the pins on the throttle body are making a perfect contact with the pigtail itself. So that's one way to avoid a comeback. Try and check that scope data as well. So there's a couple of quick pro training tips for you on that. So again, we know, what they do. We know why we replace the cable because it's more efficient. We understand a lot about why they fail now, but now let's talk about what we want to recommend to our customer. Now, I remember years ago when I was in the stores, I used to tell my teams the same thing every time, which is nobody woke up this morning and said, man, I really hope my fuel pump is not working today, right? No, they don't want to be there. It means something is broke. And 99.9% of the time, if a customer's there to get an ETB, it failed. So it's our job to make sure we give them the right thing and make sure that it doesn't come back. So we have a couple of options when we recommend an ETB to those customers. Now, we could offer a value line. Those are out there. You can get them online real cheap. Problem with the value line is this, though. They are remanufactured. They use old electronics inside. And if there are any updates to the gear train, they don't have it. It'll still have the old style, if it's plastic or whatever, that is prone to failure. So we're not going to get that out of a value line. We're not going to get a quality out of a value line. And if we need a gasket, it's not going to come with it. So maybe we step them up, right? We take them to an OE service part. Okay, that's great. At least it's an OE, right? But here's the problem. There are a multitude of known OE issues with ETBs, especially on things like GM, Nissan, Chrysler, where, if you go with the OE service part, you're just giving the customer the same design as the part that just failed, and it's going to fail again because there's known issues with it. And once again, it may not include that correct gasket. I think we all know we've ordered something from the dealer and then found out, oh, it didn't come with the gasket or the bolt. That's $38 separate. So we don't want to do that to the customer. What I would recommend, and I think what you should recommend, is the Tech Expert throttle body for various reasons. And here they are. One, it's 100% new. You're not going to get anything remanufactured on a Tech Expert throttle body. It's also going to have design improvements for those applications with high OE failure rates. I'm going to talk about 2 of those here in just a second. And in those popular applications where we know the gasket has to be replaced, you're going to get that in the box as well. So you're actually getting an upgraded, updated, full, complete unit in the box without having to make additional phone calls. So when we talk about design improvements, what do those look like? What did we do to fix or make these better? Well, we looked at some of the most common issue parts. Now, we could go a couple of hours talking about different ones here. I'm going to focus on two because they're pretty much the highest ones that we deal with. And that is on the Chrysler Pentastar 2 liter and 2.4 liter because of their high failure rate. And it's a result of the gear teeth prematurely wearing because of that poor geometry we were talking about. If you look at that little bubble picture in front of that Dodge Journey, you'll see on the left-hand side to the left of that gear, looks like a bunch of dirt and debris built up. That's actually a plastic gear, or at one point it was. And as you can see, it's trying to roll against a metal gear. Don't know why they decided to do that, but that's what they did. And I'll say this, the Pentastar motors are definitely keeping all of us in business because this is the second conversation we've had about this specific motor this year. So this is good for us, but it's also a great opportunity for us to explain to our customer what we've done different. So what did we do to fix it? One, we increased the face width of the gear to reduce stress. So we actually made the face of the gear larger so that it makes better contact and there's no binding, right? But we also improved the geometry of the teeth. So you can see there on the bottom there, we actually made the teeth thicker and shorter so that whenever the teeth on the small gear and the large gear meet, it's a perfect mesh. There's no binding, there's no extra gaps. It's a perfect geometry with those gears next to each other. Now, a minute ago, I said, let's not talk about plastic. Let's not use plastic. Well, in certain cases, you really should not. In this example, we know that even with a geometry fix, even with a bigger face, a face of the width of the gear, we know these are prone to failure. So why would we want to put plastic back in it? We didn't. What we did is we upgraded that gear to a high temp synthetic material, which is far superior to plastic, which means not only is the geometry better, not only are the teeth stronger, but the material used is stronger. And now when your customer calls for a 2 liter or 2.4 liter ETB on those Chrysler Pentastars, they're getting an updated, upgraded unit that they won't have to replace again. Now that's the same story on the 5.3 liters. And funny thing about this one, we could talk about this once a month, every year for another 10 years, and it would still be relevant. I know I've been talking about these for at least 12 years, and it's because there were such a high failure rate. And they still are a high failure rate for any vehicle on the road that has not had a replacement yet, maybe a low mileage truck or a car with a 5.3 in it. And the reason they fail is, again, they used plastic gears. But just to see what kind of, strength they really had, we tested them against ours, and we did an endurance test. And what that means is we put it on the bench, we turn it on, we walk away, and we see how long can that throttle body go before it just disintegrates. And as you can see, on the left-hand side, didn't take long. It took 10 days, didn't quite disintegrate, didn't get to that point. It broke the gear within 10 days of testing. We stopped at 45 on ours because it was still going strong. And the reason it was going strong is we know you don't need to put plastic in there. It needs to be stronger. It has to be more robust, or it's going to fail. And as you can see, we took that into consideration, and we actually have steel gears inside of that throttle body now. So really the only thing wrong with that throttle body was that gear train, and it's fixed now. So this is one of those applications where, there's at least 10 shops probably putting one on right now somewhere in the US. And if they don't know that we have these available with these corrections, they're still going to call for the OE. We need to make sure they know the OE still has plastic. We're going to give them a more robust unit with steel gears. So when I say, we're putting together a good program and something that you can have confidence in and your technicians can have confidence in, this is what I mean. Whether it's a unit that we're changing the gears, upgrading to steel, changing the geometry or the way the teeth work, whatever the case is, every throttle body in that Tech Expert line is going to have the accuracy, the design improvements that are required, the durability that the technician is expecting. It's going to be 100% new. It's going to be tested and calibrated to make sure that it's going to work exactly the way the customer expects. And again, we have all the quality control in our own backyard because these are designed by us and made in North America. And once again, if your customer doesn't want to make a secondary phone call, if it is a unit that requires that gasket, it's going to come in the box. And so before I pass it off to Aris, I'm just going to wrap this piece of it up and say, remember, the best parts make the best parts. So, when we put that part in the box, we want to know that it's going to do what the customer expects and what the vehicle's looking for. Sometimes that means you have to spend a little bit more and make it a little bit better. And so the best parts like stainless steel gears, enclosed contact brushes, those are, stainless steel throttle plate shafts, the corrosion resistant housing, all of that combined makes the best throttle body in the market. And then with that motor down there, you can see we tested that from negative 40 degrees all the way up to 248 degrees. Now, I've said this numerous amount of times now. I hope I never have to be in either one of those climates. But even if I did, at least I know my throttle body is going to open and close the way it's supposed to, because that motor will be able to function. And so with that, Ms. Aris, I'm going to pass it off to you because I think they would like to know a little bit about the competitive landscape and how they can go to market with what we are offering here. So it's yours.
All right, thank you, Corey. Great tech tips and breakdown of the engineering behind ETBs, or electronic throttle bodies. I call it ETB just to shorten it. Hello, everyone. So now let's take a quick look at the competitive landscape. I know you probably hear a lot of claims about coverage, but this is a real picture. Tech Expert leads the pack with 218 SKUs and coverage of over 210 million vehicles in operations, or VIO, like I was about to say. That's more than anyone else on that board. And what does that mean to you? It means fewer special orders, fewer missed sales, and more chances to say yes to your customer immediately. We are built for this, giving you the coverage and confidence to deliver quality without hesitation. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about having more SKUs. It's about having the right SKUs backed with quality you can trust to strengthen and grow the relationship you have with your customers, making you their number one and preferred call every time. So building and maintaining a strong relationship and keeping your customers go-to call when something goes wrong is very important to us. Tech Expert wants to make sure you got everything you need when it comes to electronic throttle bodies. And that means more than just electronic throttle bodies itself. As Corey mentioned earlier, there are more components related to the ETB system that may cause failure, and we back it up. Tech Expert is stocked with throttle position sensors, accelerator pedal position sensors, variable intake manifold actuators, clean plug-and-play connectors. That means no scrambling, no callbacks, no outsourcing parts and waiting for them, just a full solution ready to go. And it's all built and backed by the same engineer team that understands this tech inside and out. You can recommend it with confidence. Now, when it comes to throttle position sensors, one of the parts related to the ETB system that fails, we're not cutting corners. In fact, many of these are built right alongside our ETBs in the same high-quality facility. Inside the throttle position sensor, we got an integrated circuit that does the heavy lifting. It precisely measures throttle shaft movement and gives you the accurate linear signal you can rely on. And what really sets it apart is the magnet. It's molded into a high-performance polymer, which locks in the right spot and minimizes friction on the varying surface. Then we seal it up with a custom elastomer seal that keeps moisture out. And we've seen firsthand how that's a common failure point in some competitors' throttle position sensor. So what's the result? A throttle position sensor that's reliable, consistent, and built to outlast environment in all entire time. So now another part related to the ETB system that fails is the accelerated pedal position sensor, or APPS to shorten it. So the accelerated position sensor are mission critical for modern throttle control, and we make sure every single one of ours is 100% tested to deliver the most accurate signal versus pedal position. We got over 340 SKUs in the lineup, covering 3 decades worth of vehicles, which means when that repair opportunity comes, we likely got the solution. So what about the performance of the Tech Expert APPS, or Accelerated Pedal Position Sensor? Our designs are engineered to contact with just a few grams of force, so acceleration and deceleration feel smooth and responsive. Plus, we build in high-strength dual return spring that give the pedal that confident, consistent feel that the driver expects every time they hit the gas. So, at Tech Expert, we are very proud to be one of the few true basic manufacturers of electronic total bodies in North America and aftermarket. Every ETB we make is calibrated and tested in-house, including output voltage validation, but we don't stop there. We go beyond the bench and into the real world with on-vehicle testing at our facility in Texas, like Corey mentioned earlier. That gives us a huge advantage. Many offshore suppliers simply don't have that access to the wide variety of test vehicles and equipment that we do. And it shows the results. With Tech Expert ETVs, your customer gets a part that's been truly rigorous lab testing and real-world driven. When they pull it out of the box, they can install it with confidence, knowing it's built to outperform the competitive. And with that, I now hand this over to Rob and Marketing Service, who will walk you through the available tools to support these high-quality products. Rob?
Thanks, Cerise. How are you? Hello, everyone. My name is Rob Watson. I am a Senior Marketing Services Manager at S&P, and I'd like to spend a few minutes today discussing the sales support that our team offers, specifically the product and marketing material that's available to you when speaking to your customers about Tech Expert electronic throttle bodies. Now, our support doesn't stop after we place a part in a box. Our team is always focused on providing support material that helps convey our strong product messaging. For electronic throttle bodies, we've produced a few pieces that we believe accomplish that, some digitally and some in print. But we're going to start here with the print pieces. First, I'd like to mention our ETB brochure pictured here. It explains the design improvements that we make to our ETBs to deliver a more durable unit. It also details the many features and benefits that explain why our new never reman ETBs outlast the original units they are replacing. Other notable pieces here are our ETB flyers, one from our What's in Your Box series. This one details our commitment to quality manufacturing, includes design improvements that are engineered into our ETBs. You can also see how our units measure up to the competition. That's on that lower right image. You can see how how it compares to competitor units in our endurance testing. The other is our new item spotlight that details the ETBs that have been released over the past few years and are gaining in popularity. These pieces are all available to order from your Echlin rep or available for download on napaechlin.com in our digital resources section. Here, I'd like to discuss some of our digital support material. First, as part of our What's in Your Box training series, our team created a short 4-minute video on electronic throttle bodies that does a really nice job of explaining, our commitment to quality manufacturing and establishing us as an expert electronic throttle body manufacturer. We review the wear points to the original and engineer improvements, many of which we've already discussed early in the presentation. From redesigned gear trains to stronger internal components, these improvements result in a more durable and more reliable ETB. It's another resource that you can use to share with your customers. It's available on our Echlin YouTube channel and can be found in our What's in Your Box series playlist or in the ETB playlist on the Echlin channel. Now let's actually move on to the Echlin YouTube channel. So another resource that's available is the NAPA Echlin YouTube channel. And the channel features more than 500 videos, including videos that detail the features and benefits of our products and programs, videos that demonstrate our engineering and manufacturing capabilities, as well as installation and technical videos. We also place our videos in product-specific playlists to make them easier to filter and to find. And again, the playlist includes the training video series video that I just mentioned, as well as the other ETB videos that are available. And last but not least is our digital product portfolios that are available for multiple categories and provide a broad yet detailed look into the products and related parts that make up some of our key categories and programs. We currently have 15 portfolios available, and to view them, again, go to echlin.com. There's a digital resources tab in the top right corner of the site. You click that, and it will take you to our resource page. And then once there, there's a search bar that you could enter different terms to kind of filter the results. And in this case, I would enter portfolio, and it will return all 15 of the digital product portfolios that are available, the ETB one included. Here, I'd like to talk a little bit about our advertising efforts. So we've placed these print ads in popular magazines like NAPA Outlook and NAPA Insights. And these ads just further explain what goes into the Echlin box. And in the case of our Tech Expert electronic throttle bodies, it's design improvements for durability and optimized performance. Again, just continuing the messaging that we've been trying to hammer home throughout this presentation. Next slide, thanks. And here on this slide, I really just want to recap some of the points that I've expressed and our team has expressed earlier throughout the presentation. First, I'd like to reinforce that our units are always 100% new and never remanufactured. They're also designed and built here in North America. And when thinking about Tech Expert electronic throttle bodies, try to remember some of the benefits that we've covered here today. Remember all the things that our team has done to engineer a better, more durable electronic throttle body, most notably the design improvements mentioned throughout the presentation. And coverage, we have to talk about coverage. We have industry-leading coverage with more than 200 SKUs, covering more than 200 million vehicles in operation. We also talk about testing. Tech Expert electronic throttle bodies are tested in the lab and on real vehicles at our vehicle testing center in Irving, Texas, to always ensure they perform under all operating conditions. And finally, sales support. A lot of what I touched on. We're more than just a part in the box. The Echlin team provides sales support and training to always explain why Tech Expert electronic throttle bodies are the best choice for your customers. And just to sum this entire program up, when installing a Tech Expert electronic throttle body, you can always install with confidence. And I think that's all I have. And I'll thank you very much for your time today. And I'll throw it back to Corey for any questions.
All right, Rob, thank you. And thank you, Aris. I appreciate you both hopping in and helping me out here. I know they just don't want to hear my voice as long as this is going. So I appreciate you helping out. And again, I appreciate everybody joining us today. Again, I know it's a lot to pull yourself away, but I hope that was exactly what you needed when it comes to electronic throttle body conversations. Make sure you get with your rep, get some of that sales material, make sure we're out there, giving the technicians the information they need to make an educated buying decision. And if they're doing that, we know they're going to buy the Tech Expert. So with that, I'll say thank you all again for being here. Look forward to seeing you next month, and have a great day and a good rest of the week. Thanks, everyone.